Everyone, that definitely cut us off way before 40 minutes. So I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened there. We'll just wait for a few other people to jump online as well. But welcome back, Olivia. Welcome back, Liv. I've got two Olivias. So hi to both of you. I think I'll start to talk through that question. But I think a couple more people will probably jump back on the chat as well. But I'm so sorry that kicked us off. I'm not sure what happened there. Got a question from Olivia. Hi, Bethany. Welcome back. What do you do for junior coaches who do not commit to the training days regularly? Will they just not get promoted if they're not engaging in this? Really, really good question. So for us and our team, they they get promoted on the training days where possible. But I do have some of our team members who might always spend Christmas, half term, Easter with different family members, or they always go away and they can't always attend. That's not the only reason they would get promoted. We would discuss maybe Olivia in our coaches meeting. There's 15 of us that meet for an hour and a half every Thursday. And one of the agendas before holiday break, a couple of weeks before, is how is Bethany doing? How is Liv doing? They're now 13 years old. Could they be promoted up to a junior assistant? Well, actually, Olivia hasn't been here for the last 2 weeks. Niall's always sat down when he's coaching, and actually he doesn't learn the gymnast name. So actually, then gives us an opportunity for our coaching team to go back and speak to those coaches, maybe alongside the grown-ups if they are a real junior member of staff. But no, they still could get promoted, but we might make them wait a little bit longer because we think attending those training days is so important. There's so much knowledge they gain from attending them. Um, but where possible, and I think because we've been doing this for 12 years, they know that they get promoted at the training days. So a lot of them, and we try and run our training days on different days, so we don't always do it at the same time. But for example, over the summer, I've got 5 different junior staff training days for our 10 to 13-year-olds. So there's a wide range over the summer. And I do hear from our grown-ups and our parents, if our training day is on the Monday, a lot of the time they leave at 2 o'clock Monday afternoon because they know they want Olivia to come to this training day and then go from there. And also, our training days are so enjoyable that they actually want to come, which is something I feel so proud of. So, yes, they don't get promoted if they don't attend the training days, but under certain circumstances, yes, we would allow that. And how do they get promoted? Yes, Olivia. So we have assessment sheets. You might do badge testing at your gym. We do it for a medal, which has 10 skills they tick through. It's a little bit like that. It's really easy for the coach educator to fill out, but there's a nice amount of information on there that is not overcomplicated, but it's still very clear. And we want to see, if I was working with our demonstrators, that they know the preps to build up from a forward roll or a backward roll or the type of things that might be in a handstand circuit. And we want to see that they know those preps, that they can teach them. And alongside those vault skills, those headstand skills, those handstand skills, there's some body language or expectations outside of just coaching. Do they learn the gymnast names? Do they turn up weekly to their coaching? And little ticks list like that. And a lot of the time, our coaches do always get promoted when they're ready. Just because they turn 13 doesn't mean they get promoted. We still do have some 14 and sometimes even 15-year-old demonstrators, but sometimes they started later to our program. I think that answers it, Olivia. But I can go into more detail because I think it was a great question. Olivia from Sky Gymnastics. I have no idea where to even begin. Do you help clubs run training days in person? Yes, I do. I love it because there's many things I could do. I could come in to lead the training day. I could come in to co-lead a training day. So I could work alongside you or one of your team members and we would do it together. So it's not me coming in and telling your coaches to do all this stuff, but it's also not all of this new information coming from you. And I know change can be challenging and take time, but these training days are fun and people will buy into them and they will really enjoy it. But yes, as part of that was one of the three packages, and I'll be sending out an email tomorrow with the information on. That is one of them. We can do club visits, and I would love to visit your club. If you checked out our social media channels, there's at Basketball's Gym, but there's also at Basketball's Coach Education. There's loads of cool videos. You can see some of the clubs we've worked with recently. But yes, Olivia, I'd be honoured to come and work alongside yourself and any of your team members. Liv from Niall Wilson Gymnastics. What sort of structure do you follow when delivering these sessions? I'll just explain it exactly as we do it then. So we would have a 3 hour training day for these 10 to 13 year olds. And as I said, we do then up the level expectations, start to support with the older ones. But I think it's good to talk about those junior staff because they're the ones, if we invest in them, everything else will just grow. So what do we do when we do these sessions? In a 3 hour session, the first half an hour, we would lead an active warm up. And we normally have about 22 gymnasts that attend a holiday course, and I might have 10 of our team members on board. So we would spend the first 10 minutes doing some drills on the spot, running, jumping, hopping, skipping, and I would lead from the front. But these junior staff members might have 2 or 3 gymnasts each. And the junior staff members would copy me, but the gymnast would copy them. So they don't have to think too much to start because they're just copying me. But we say we want to hear your voices when you're talking the gymnast to hop on one foot and switch to the other foot. And now show me your jumping jacks with wide shapes. And then they would practice between every move and activity, a static skill, tuck sit, pipe sit, straddle sit. That would be the first half an hour of our session. There's a 15-minute break in the middle of the next 2.5 hours, but we then spend 15 minutes on each place. And we might do a trampoline circuit where we teach them about walking on and off the trampoline, bending our legs when we stop, and how the arms might work when we're jumping. And alongside that circuit, might have some trampettes or some mini trampolines where they practice their landing position. And that would be a 15-minute circuit. And it's so hard to fit it in. We run out of time every time, and that's the best feeling. But we would do that same structure for not just trampoline. We do the same for headstands, and we'd have a headstand circuit for handstands, cartwheels. And as I said, these junior staff members, they do not support. And I think it's for you to check what the rules are of your governing body, your insurance providers, but also your club. But our team don't start supporting them until 13 because, as I said, that ties back in with when they can get a work permit under the UK government. Liv, please let me know if that's enough information. If not, please pop another question. I'm happy to delve in even more. Other Olivia, we've got, if you have an older gymnast wishing to get involved, do they start as a demonstrator? That's hard. It's a really tricky one. I think it depends on the age. What I would probably get them to do is, firstly, if I really felt they were right to join the team at that age, I would definitely want them as part of the team. I would probably want them to come to both training days. So I'd get them to come to the demonstrator one, the 10 to 13-year-olds, even if they're a 15 or 16-year-old, but they might sit closer to me or even side by side. And I would make them feel like they're almost delivering the session with me. And I would pull them away and discuss things in more detail so that they feel they're not being, I'm trying to think of the right word, they're not being brought down to these younger coaches level, but they still need to learn these preps. And I've had it before where we start junior team members in who are a little bit older and start them off a t-shirt or two up. And it hasn't always been too beneficial because we've not spent enough time building through the basics. So I would ask them to attend both training days, maybe for 1, 2, or even 3 holiday times. But I definitely would move in quicker at a more elevated pace through the pathway. But I might give them a junior assistant top, which will be the next one up, so they don't feel like they're being put down to a certain level, but they wouldn't maybe get paid straight away until they've done a certain amount of time or they've acquired the skills that we'd want them to deliver our coaching sessions. In fact, about 2 years ago, our preschool team, and they're amazing, they're built up of some of the mums and ladies that have been with Baskervilles for over 20, 25 years. And they now come in and sit in some of our demonstrator training days because they've started to coach our recreational gymnastics program. And actually, the skills they wanted to learn were on those most junior staff training days. And do you know what? They fit right into the team. They didn't, and I hate the word awkward, they didn't feel awkward whatsoever. They got there, they got stuck in. Freya from the Diz Gymnastics. Love the sound of that place. We are not UK based. Would you be able to offer future support remotely for our club? Absolutely. So, one of the packages is just a remote call, a little bit like this, where we can talk through some of the documentation I can provide. Like, as I said, we can make it bespoke to your club, and it's really easy to pick up and just go with. But there might be a few questions. I understand these three sections, but actually, for the cartwheel circuit, I don't quite understand what we would deliver, or how does a 12-year-old coach on a cartwheel circuit for 15 minutes? And then we can talk more about how that process would happen. Alternatively, I am actually going to Canada in October. Me and my wife are heading over there to do some coach education. So I'd be more than happy to travel. I'm sure, like you guys, we spend many hours in our gym and we love it. But I would love to be able to see more of the world while helping out gymnastics clubs at the same time. Just out of interest, where are you from, Freya? Don't know if you put where you're from. So that would be interesting to know. Liv, that was so helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Liv. Good. Yes, Olivia, this question came up earlier. Do our staff, our team, do they get paid for the training days? All of our 13-year-old student staff members upwards, those team members, they get paid for their coaching, but no, they do not get paid for their coaching. Uh, sorry, they do not get paid for their training, but they do get paid for their weekly coaching. Those training days, we put so much time, and we want to, effort, enthusiasm, and thought into those training days that they do not get paid for the training days, but it is a non-negotiable that they attend. We understand people are away from time to time, Christmas, Easter, holiday, we might go different places, and I go away from time to time as well. Not too often, but they do not get paid for the training days, no. And that goes all the way through until one of our team members become a full-time member of staff. And by full-time member, I'd say kind of 20 hours a week upwards. But anybody before that, we don't pay them for their training. And recently, we have about 15 university students that coach within our team. They're amazing because they just come in for basic hours, and they've all come from different gyms. So they bring in an amazing perspective from everywhere else. But we sell it to them slightly different. So we might call it a coaching clinic. And suddenly, would you like to attend one of our coaching clinics running over the holiday time? Now, our clinics are amazing. Although I run all of the coach education training days, we have some amazing high performance coaches, and they step in and run some of our highest or most experienced training days, which I even get to attend. And I love being back on the other side. A, we can always learn, but B, being the other side, you can reflect as a coach educator and think, I love the way that Liv explained that, or the way that Bethany described that prep, or the way the Freya that got down and she talked to those junior members of staff at their level. That was so fantastic. I'm going to take that into my coaching. Please let me know if you do have any other questions. I can pull up some ones from the previous chats as well, but do pop any others. Or, as I said, if there's anything in more detail we would like to talk about, I'll see if I can find some of our chats from the previous one. The first seminar had some really good questions. Someone said, who manages the younger coaches, and is there a single point of contact, or is the coach they work, or is it the coach they work alongside with? Now, I have myself and my assistant Kira. She sends out all the information, and then we collate the data about them attending the training days. But for their weekly coaching, the lead coach that they coach alongside with, that would be their point of contact. This one I love, and it actually came up at one of our team meetings recently. Someone from Move Gymnastics at the first seminar said, I struggle with ideas for younger coaches who cannot support skills to do during the sessions. Do you have any advice? Now, yeah, this came up twice at our coaches training days because we had a demonstrator, a junior member of staff whose enthusiasm was there, but concentration wasn't always top of their list. And at a circuit at Baskervilles, we might have a bar circuit where there's three other side stations. And I might be supporting on the bar, shaping those swings, or just assisting with the regrass. So the majority of my attention is on that one gymnast, Olivia, who's swinging back on the bars. But we might have Liv, Bethany, and Freya on the other places. And so that junior member of staff, our coaches were putting them just on one place, and maybe they were just watching a rock and roll. And really, I think if I watched a rock and roll for 15 minutes, it might drive me a little bit crazy as well, or I might lose my concentration. So we talked about with those junior staff members to say to them, can you go and visit those three other side stations before I change on? And it's probably about 2 minutes a place before we change on. And to get around three places in 2 minutes and give a coaching point can be really challenging. And actually, suddenly, this junior staff member went from someone who was quite distracted and unfocused to struggling to get around all three in that time. And again, they're having that feeling of not being able to fit everything in and running out of time. And suddenly it's 5:30 and my week hour of coaching is over and I can't believe it. And then suddenly they're already looking forward to next week. Liv, you said, when building this program, what tools and information did you use? Were there qualifications you had to obtain for a specific pathway? Firstly, when building this program, what tools and information did we use? To start with, like anything, it just grew organically. Nothing was really written down. And then as I started to share the leadership, I realized I need to start documenting this. Now, every club will have different ways they run preps. And so I think for us to start with, it's for you to decide what those preps are. Not everybody has to do the same thing, but I'm sure there's a number of skills or a number of preps you would all do for the same skill. So I would start in time to write it down. Keep it really simple. Don't overcomplicate it. But this is what we do for forward rolls, for backward rolls, for handstands. And so you're all teaching in a similar kind of way, which I think is good. And it's also going to help when these recreational gymnasts move across to your more advanced or elite pathways, they've all understood the same preps in similar ways. Now, were these qualifications you had to obtain, or were they for this specific pathway? Now, I went to university and I did coach education at university, so I did sports coaching. I've also done a number of my qualifications under British Gymnastics as well as my level three tumbling, level two men's, recreational up to three or four as well, however high it goes to. But none of that made me the coach educator I am today. They definitely assisted me on this pathway, but just trial and error and doing it more and more and talking to our team, there's still things I learn every single day. And even from our 10 or 11 year olds, there might be something they say in a certain way. I think, wow, you've said that in such a way. I want to coin that and take that moving forwards. So I think that's really good. Does that quite answer it, Liv? Let me just read it again. When building this program, what tools and information did you use? Yeah, I didn't have anything to build it on. I couldn't find, I know BG recently they brought out the Young Leaders program, or before, I think they had a level zero qualification. The thing I liked about the level zero, apart from the name, I think it now might be called proficiency, maybe a much better name now, is that there wasn't any written work. And our team, we have some really well educated team members, and we have other team members that are really good coaches, but maybe academia might not be their strongest point. So to have it that they can have hands on coaching and they can just learn by being present and listening or doing or feeling it, we found has really helped. We do run some in-house qualifications and training, but again, we keep it fairly simple, but it does operate under our insurance policy, but we also operate under our governing body as well. So when our team members turn 14 or 16, we do send them on recognized qualifications as well. But what is always so nice, and a lot of the time our coach educators might drive these junior staff members to the courses so they can also sit in on it as well and see how things are being done and pick up extra things to build their knowledge. It's a great tip for you if you haven't done that already. I'm sure you have. But also, the nice thing about that is when they attend these coach education, these official UKCC or BG or IGA qualifications, the comments we get back from the coach educators, they say when they see a coach that comes from Baskervilles, they know that they're already going to have a good base knowledge or they're going to know how to support. And that's not something that we were able to do straight away. Sorry, my alarm's gone off. um, That's not something that happened straight away, but over the years, we've built this program up. And now I'd like to think our coaches, and lots of them go off to university, they go and work at other gyms. And it's nice that we know that we're sending other coaches off to other clubs around the world. We've just had one of our coaches move to Australia, and she's going to be the best over there. But it's nice to know that the knowledge they pick up with us, they can take with it. Um, any other questions or stuff, please pop on there. I'll see if there's any from the previous chat that are also really interesting. So not already, but someone asked, it was from Majestic Gymnastics. They said, are our training days focused on gymnastic skills only, or do we branch out to body language and communication? And yeah, we definitely try and teach our team not just about coaching and how to support if they're of the right age, but also, yeah, those skills. We encourage our team not to stand with their arms folded because suddenly we become big and scary to these small young gymnasts. We always tell them how we always want to sit down at their level because if we stand over the top and talk to them, even if they're only a 10 or 11-year-old as our junior coaches, to these 5 and 6-year-old gymnasts, suddenly they're this big, tall adult. So to sit down at their level, to talk about eye contact and smiling, and I said it before, but learning their names. And every now and then, in a fun way, we'll spot check our coaches and we'll say, we're going to line up in 2 minutes' time. When you line up your subgroup with the coach you're working alongside, we're going to see how many names you know. And I would like to think at least 95% of our team members will be able to say, we have Freya, Liv, Sophie, Paul, Max, and they can name all 8 gymnasts in their subgroup. And this is in a class of 24. And they only work with these gymnasts for half an hour because our classes run for an hour, but they run back to back. But that is one of the things we encourage that they learn their names. What else do we have? Someone said, and this was from Move Gymnastics, they said, I'm running a training session with all of my team, a huge range and experience. How would you manage the content or the difficulty for this? One way we would do this, and when I've worked at other clubs that have had a smaller team, but a great team, but that wide range in ages, we've brought them in, and then one of us or 2 coaches, and normally the more experienced ones, have set up a cartwheel circuit they might do. And they would deliver this circuit to everybody else. So they would stand up and they would say, we're going to be doing cartwheel preps over here, bunny hops with a half turn there, straddle folds or splits, pushing the sliders out, and maybe some side to side bunny hops, some other prep skill. They would deliver the full circuit, and then we would all talk back about what we liked where they deliver the circuit. I like the way that Bethany used Liv to demonstrate this piece, but she actually demonstrated the cartwheel herself, and so she built respect straight away because the gymnast, us sitting there pretending to be the gymnast, we got to see Liv doing a cartwheel, and she was amazing. So that's quite a nice way to do it. And with that, you might run a training day once, and you might have certain coaches that don't have the confidence yet, or they're just not comfortable to talk in front of the others. But when you do the next one in the next half term or Easter, they know what to expect this time because they remember it from last time. And they might come in still slightly shy or not with the full confidence yet, but they might step their hand up and I would like to explain the backward roll circuit. And you think, Bethany, fantastic. Yes, please. She would get to deliver. We would get to say, Bethany, I love the way that you smiled or used our names or suddenly clapped to get our attention. And that's a really nice part. Bethany, do you session plan for your coaches or do they have to do this? We write all of our lesson plans. It doesn't mean that everyone has to follow it to the latter. But because we have quite a big team and we operate out of 5 locations, only one custom built facility, but 4 satellite centers, we want to be able to say to the gymnasts that attend any of them, they're getting the same coaching, the same attention wherever they go. So we have lesson plans that they follow. And the reason why we like this in our lesson plans, they do the same thing for 2 weeks in a row. We feel there's so much you learn from doing the same lesson plan for 2 weeks in a row. So they might come in and actually, I was teaching today, we had backward rolls in one place, we had a bar circuit, and we had a vault circuit, and they were our 3 stations. And they would do that session plan, that lesson plan for 2 weeks in a row. And then 2 weeks after that, they would do different skills, forward rolls, handstands, and maybe a different skill on vault, or maybe a little ring circuit, something or beam. But they would then do these for 2 weeks. But yes, all of our sessions are lesson planned. And I know every gym operates differently, and please do what's right with your gym. But as I said, we have lots of university students. Bath is a big university city. So we have coaches that come from all over the UK and the world, and they come and work at our club. And I can't think of any of our coaches when they've come in who have said how much they enjoy how structured it is and how clear the guidelines are. Now, we're not the army, and so it's not you have to do it this way, but these are recommendations. This is the circuit and how it's set up, but we want them to be organic and their self when they coach. Our squad sessions run slightly differently. Those coaches have had more experience, and so their lesson plans aren't structured, but our gym is still mapped out so that you're on a certain piece of apparatus at a certain time and you move off of that apparatus after half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. So our squad team and Jazz, she's in charge of that. She's amazing if you haven't met her already. She's currently in our most recent video on our social media channel doing a Sukahara with one of our gymnasts, but she writes the squad apparatus plan so everyone knows where they are at what time. Definitely. We do have our session plans for our coaches, but feel they can't run a session without it now. How do you overcome this? I like the fact that they follow these session plans. And I think for them to be able to deliver a session without it, I think it's for us and for you, Bethany, to run training days so that they can understand the knowledge that they have. They can understand how much knowledge they have and how they can apply that. And I think to have that team teaching where they can teach in front of their peers will make them understand how good they are and their confidence will get built up. So actually, if there's not a lesson plan, I know loads of preps for forward rolls, or I remember what Bethany said on the training day, and she said how brilliant my cartwheel circuit was. I can do this, but it's your job, and as we said in the seminar, to invest in your team and provide them with the knowledge. And I'm sure they do have the knowledge, and it's just making them understand that they can. But if the lesson plans are good, stick with them. I love the lesson plans. My job now as head of our satellite centers and coach education is feel a bit like a teacher, but I have to go through and mark all of the lesson plans. So the team will bring them through me every 2 weeks. We'll go through them, talk about how great they are, maybe a couple of changes here and there or a spelling mistake, and then they'll update it and then that will roll out at their center that they manage. Does that answer it, Definitely. I hope that's okay. Let me see if there's any other questions from the previous seminars. We've already talked about if we pay our coaches for training days, and that was no. That came up in the previous seminar as well. Someone from Move Gymnastics, a girl called Holly, she said, what kind of things do you assess each coach on? And what do the demonstrators or junior assistants or assistants have to show to be promoted? Well, we want them to turn up to the training days, to show commitment in their role, to communicate well. So if they are away, if they've got exams or if they're on family holiday, term wise, just to let us know. So all those type of things. I feel like we've covered most things there. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope even if there's just one takeaway from today, it's been fantastic. But I will be sending out a follow-up email tomorrow. So if there is anything you'd like more, please ping an email back or do it straight away now. And I'll also send the information to go alongside that of what I can give to you after. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely, what gym are you from? Just pop what gym you're from. I'm really interested. As for Liv from Niall Wilson Gymnastics, I would love to work with you guys. I love what you guys are setting up. I know the challenges you put up on social media. We're a big fan of our challenges as well. So yeah, we want to be a part of you, and I'm sure there's so many things you could give to us, and also we can give back in return. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Beth, you're from React HGA. Long story. Maybe we'll chat about it one day. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a lovely evening. I hope it's been beneficial, and good luck with your coach education. See you again soon. Have a nice evening. You're very welcome, Bethany. No, thanks for joining us, Liv. Thank you for your time. I hope it has been helpful. Good luck.